How's it going, Foundation Nation? Hunter here. We're in the warehouse today. This is the type of video we haven't done in a while, but with, the pandemic and everything this year, disc golf has seen some crazy growth, and I know that a ton of you watching our videos right now are newer players just getting into the sport. So we're going to start off this series that is basically the beginner's guide to disc golf. So week one here, we're going to go over your disc selection. What should you have in your bag when you're first going out there on the course that's going to set you up for success down the road? I think that's the key about this whole series, is it's about just building up a good foundation, literally why we're named this, good foundation for your game so that it can roll on into, when you become more of an intermediate, advanced, and so on player, you have a solid base here. So we're just going to start off straight away with some putters. One of the big keys with putters is actually feel. So if possible at all, go to your local course, ask some different people that you can feel the putters in their bag. Go to your local disc golf store if you have one, feel some of the putters there. I'm gonna kind of talk about a few different putters that I recommend for beginners, but one thing that you'll notice that's a difference is whether they have a bead on the bottom or not. The biggest thing you need to know about the bead is just the feel when you're just getting started. It does do a little bit to the flight characteristics, but that's not something very important when you're just starting out. It's just whether you like the feel of a bead or a beadless disc. So a good example of a beaded disc is the Challenger. It has a rather small bead, especially when compared to something more like a Focus or something like that has a much more noticeable bead. But the Challenger is a great beginner putter. It has a very true characteristic to its flight. It wants to hold straight with a very slight finish at the end as a thrower, and as a putter inside the circle you're going to notice a clean release, and it's going to hold pretty true to whatever line you put it on. One thing that I will mention about this is a little bit deeper of a putter. So that's something that, again, is a lot about feel, but when you're picking your putter you want to stick to some more neutral flights when you're just beginning. So the Challenger is a good one. Another great one is a Roach. This one's a beadless putter, meaning that it doesn't have that bead on the bottom, and that provides a little bit of a smoother feel, and this has a very, very straight flight. So when you're picking these up, I would recommend, if you're just starting out, getting them in something like the Pro D, Jawbreaker, Soft X, some type of baseline plastic, so you can kind of take it out into a field, throw it a few times, get used to it, and make sure you like it before you invest in like a Big Z Roach or a Z Flex Challenger or something along those lines. But really the biggest thing with putter is getting a neutral flight and something that you're very comfortable with in your hand. So if you have a chance to, if you have some friends that are more into disc golf than you, ask them if you can throw their putters so you can kind of get a feel of it. But both of these, the Challenger and the Roach, are going to provide you a good neutral flights. And the third one I have here is the Fierce. This is the Paige Pierce signature disc. It has a somewhat similar hand feel to the Roach, but it's a little bit shallower. It's also very similar to the Challenger SS, which is the super straight version of the Discraft Challenger. So the Fierce is going to be straighter to a little bit of a Anheuser, wants to hold over on that angle a little bit more. When you're just starting out though, you're going to notice this disc really likes to fly straight, and that's exactly what you're looking for in your putter. This is going to be your go-to. This is how you make sure your form's looking right, how you make sure your form's feeling right, and it's going to be the easiest disc for you to get to fly straight, which when you're just starting out, that is crucial. It's going to give you more control on the course and help you build your form the correct way. You can, when you get into mids, and even if you throw any drivers, those, if you're throwing the wrong discs and you're throwing it the wrong way, they might correct a little bit for you and teach you bad beginner basics, whereas the putter is going to show you those flaws, especially something neutral like one of these three. They're going to show you those flaws and allow you to make sure that you're getting your form right when you're out there on the course. Now on to the mid-ranges. The mids, you're looking for a very similar thing that you're looking to for the putters when you're just starting out, which is a nice neutral flight. The mids will provide you with a little bit more distance, but you don't want to get something too overstable, which means that at the end of its flight, it wants to fight out of the angle and finish hard. So if I throw it right hand, backhand this way, then it's going to finish hard to my left. You're looking for something that's going to want to hold straight, because again, that's a disc that's very neutral is the best way for you to learn any weird tendencies you have in your form. Like if you're ripping over on a disc like this, coming out of your hand like this, and it's an overstable disc, it's going to fight that and come back, resulting in a straight flight, which makes you feel good and you want to keep doing that. A disc like the ones I'm about to recommend, instead, if you rip over on it, they will hold that angle and go somewhere you don't want, which will help teach you that flat release that helps a disc go very straight. So when you're just starting out, you're looking for something more neutral in flight or stable. Stable just means straight. So I would recommend something like the Soul. This is a newer disc from Discraft. It's actually Paige's, one of her newest signature discs with them. Depending on when you're watching this video, they might be hard to find, but from what I understand, if you watch this when it just came out, in a few weeks, they should be pretty much back in stock everywhere. It has a little bit more of a blunt edge, which gives it kind of a putter feel, which I personally really enjoy. As we talk about grip and stuff like that in these upcoming videos in this series, you'll understand why. But to me, this really provides just a very good straight flight, and a disc like this is great as you progress in your game. You can keep it in your bag to learn a hyzer flip. So where you release the disc like this on this angle and it flips up out of it and then cruises to the right or finishes straight. As you get more distance in your game and a little bit more snap or spin on the disc, the Soul is a great one that'll do that, but it has that great neutral flight that when you're just starting out, you should be able to get it to fly pretty straight for you with a very slight finish. Another disc I would recommend is a D-line Buzz. So the Buzz in general, it has been basically, known as the greatest mid-range in disc golf. It's just one of those discs that everyone loves, they always recommend. Why do I recommend a D-line? This allows the disc to beat up and get to that neutral flight for you a little bit faster than something like a Z or ESP, because when you're first starting out, the Buzz is going to have a finish to it. It is going to be overstable, meaning it is going to finish pretty hard for you. But something in a baseline plastic allows the disc to beat up. So as you hit trees and stuff, a disc will start to fly straighter and straighter and possibly even turn over for you while still keeping that consistent feel of a Buzz. So this allows you to cycle mid-ranges, putting new ones in that have that overstable flight, and then having an older one that allows you to throw straight or slight turnover shots. And also as you progress in your game towards more of an advanced skill level and you put a Z or ESP one in your bag, you're still able to have that feel with a flippy disc in your bag in the D-line Buzz. So if you're looking for a Buzz, I would really recommend something like a D or an X line, because it's going to provide you with that straighter flight faster. But it's hard to go wrong in general with a Buzz, or even a Buzz SS, which is simply the straighter, more understable, wants to finish to the right version of the Buzz. So either one of those are a great choice as well. And finally, we have the Meteor. Now the Meteor in a premium plastic, this one's ESP. They also make it in Z and Glow. I would stay away from Glow as a beginner, but ESP or Z, if you release it flat and you get a good release on it, it's gonna go pretty straight for you and have a slight finish. And it's another one of those discs like the Soul that will allow you, as you get better, to learn that hyzer flip. So as you add some distance, this is another disc that can stay in your bag as you kind of transition and improve your game over time. This is going to be more stable than the Soul, so it's going to have more finish at the end of its flight than the Soul would for you, but it also has a little bit more comfortable feel in the hand, a little bit more true mid-range feel due to the rim shape. It's not as blunt than the Soul, so some people will prefer that. And again, as we talk about grips, you'll understand kind of what the differences are and how they fit in your hand. But the Meteor is another great disc that allows you to pump it out there flat, get a true flight with a very slight finish at the end, and will help you learn good form. Now, going into drivers when talking about true beginners, so like you're just starting out the game, avoid them. Stick to your very neutral to understable mid-ranges and putters, learn with those. If you cannot resist the temptation, you must buy a driver, or if you're starting to improve with your mids and your putters and you're able to throw them pretty straight and you want to upgrade to a driver, pick something that's a little bit slower speed. Basically, I would say less than a 10 speed. There's no need for a beginner to be throwing more than a 10 speed, because those discs are all going to finish overstable. They're all going to have a good dump for you because you can't get your arm speed up to the right amount of rotations and speed on the disc to get a 10 speed to fly true to its flight. There's a place for those in your bag as a headwind disc so that it doesn't flip your disc over, because wind will do that. But when you're just starting out, I would recommend stay away from drivers, and if you must put them in, get something like a Heat. This one's a custom stamped one, but Heat, an Archer, a Sting, anything like that is going to be a great disc. And if you just walk into a store and they don't have Heats and stuff like that on the shelf, and you're looking for, how can I tell if this is a driver I should be throwing or not? First thing to look at is the rim width. So you want a narrow rim width. This is what determines a disc's speed. So more narrow rim width means that it's going to be more easily thrown at a slower speed. And the other thing you want to look at is how flat this bottom is. If the flat, you'll notice on the Heat, it's relatively flat, straight across here. That means it's good for beginners. You'll notice they'll have a little bit more rounded top to a flat bottom. That means it's understable, meaning the harder it's thrown, the more it wants to go to the right, the opposite of the natural disc flight. So normally a backhand with the right hand wants to finish to my left. A Heat or a Sting or an Archer or anything like that will flip over and go to the right. So when you're first starting off and you might not be able to get it up to speed, it's going to have a more straight flight with a slight finish, similar to your mid-ranges, but a disc like the Heat or even the Avenger SS is going to have a lot more glide to it. So that's going to allow the disc to go farther down the fairway than your mid-ranges, but you'll still have the control of a mid. Another great disc that just came to mind is the Zombie. That's like a longer buzz. So, you know, I would look into those. But again, if you just go to the store and you're feeling up different ones and you're trying to decide if it's the right disc for you and you're looking for something with that straighter flight, pay attention to this rim right here. The more flat this rim is, the more likely it's going to be straight to understable for you, which is exactly what you're looking for as a beginner. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully it gave you a little bit of an insight into what you're looking for flight-wise and disc-wise for putters, mids, and drivers. But again, this is just the first in this series that's going to hopefully provide you a crash course in disc golf, teaching you everything you need to know to get out on the course and start being competitive as soon as possible. If you like this video, make sure to click down below to subscribe to this channel and stay up to date for the more of these that we're going to be releasing. Also check the links in our description below to our website, Instagram, Facebook, and all of our other social medias. Comment down below what you thought of this style of video. Hopefully it's helpful to some of you guys. I know some of you might find it boring as well, but again, hopefully this helps some of you newer players figure out exactly where to start so that you start the game off right and build a strong foundation. We'll see you in the next one.